these talks are meant to be intergenerational dialogues between the current and future leaders of the digital and ecological transitions. And they represent the intersection between Generation X, which is from 1965 to the 80s, Generation Y from 1981 to 96, so more or less my age, and Generation Z until 2010. So this talk is about cultural heritage and the heritage industries in the digital and ecological transitions. These industries are the ones which are working both on material and immaterial cultural heritage, heritage and art and architecture, fashion, and so on in this transition. So we are very honored to have our Vice President, Paola Severino, present to this talk. And it is by no doubt the greatest privilege to have her give the institutional greetings from Lewis. So she's not only is our university's vice president, but she's also, among many other things, the former rector and former Ministry of Justice. So I will straight away leave the floor to her. So thank you, Professor. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I am very pleased to open this XYZ talk on heritage industries in the digital and ecological transition. And I am particularly grateful to be among the first guests to speak in the framework of the new revolutionary Master of Science in Digital Innovation and Sustainability, which both Professor Iaione and I strongly wanted to include as a teaching program at Lewis University. I therefore wish to thank you very much for the kind invitation. The internet and the other new technologies are playing an important role in today's global information society. They are essential in every sector of human life, but they can also be used to prepare and commit serious transnational crimes. The internet has frequently been considered as intrinsically free from regulation, a place where liberty, freedom of expression, sharing, creativity would be assured, a place where everything seems to be possible. My speech will focus on the importance of law in the digital and ecological transformation of corporate businesses, with a specific reference to luxury brands. Needless to say, the topic is much wider and complex. As you may read in my recent article published yesterday in the newspaper La Stampa, this subject matter is indeed multifaced. As I mentioned in my article, I would like to take the occasion to warmly welcome Jacaranda Caracciolo-Falk from JD Group, thanking her very much for her work and commitment to modernize information. This is a very important job, a very difficult job, and so we very warmly thank her for her job. Today's legal professionals, lawyers, judges, and in particular regulators have to face the challenges of technological progress in everyday life, cope with the new trends and anticipate any critical issues that may arise from a legal point of view. History teaches us that legislators are always running after technology in order to find a regulatory solution that can satisfy the interests of society and maintain a correct balance between them. Digital transformation has radically changed the face of the global economy, as well as the organization of the key factors for the production of goods and services. Indeed, technology has revolutionized the operational, strategic, and governance processes, leading to new business models and marketing strategies. Since the late 1990s, we have seen the development of digital networks and communication infrastructure that provide us access to the global market. New methods have been developed that enable people and organizations to collaborate, search for information, and create innovative promotion services and delivery strategies. The new industrial revolution, the so-called Industry 4.0, is the direct result of the digitalization process. Economic players have found themselves facing a new reality, to the need to manage intangible assets and virtual resources. In the digital era, new rights and legitimate interests are emerging, including the protection of digital identity and the control over personal data. You may imagine how revolutionary it is in the law framework. The law framework is normally very contrary to accelerate, to innovate. But now we have to innovate our mind before and more than innovating regulation. The right to property, as we know it, has assumed a dematerialized nature, and the exercise of the related rights depends on the ownership of codes, data, and information as opposed to material goods. Digitalization is nevertheless a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it brings many advantages and benefits. There is no doubt, that ICT, information and communication technologies allow business players to respond to market needs in real time. A market that is constantly changing requires that companies quickly adapt to ensure their competitiveness. In a nutshell, the internet economy has become the fundamental pillar for industry. On the other hand, there are many risks for business players. Cybercrime is a widespread, complex, and ever-changing phenomenon. The metamorphosis of cybercriminality highlights the necessity of carefully studying issues related to cybersecurity and anti-counterfeiting. Let's consider, for instance, the widespread use of virtual currencies, bitcoins, for example, and online criminal markets, which can facilitate money laundering and terrorist financing. You can see how large could be the consequences of this change, leading in particular to a market increase in the volume of trade in counterfeited and pirated luxury products. Nowadays, tracking transactions in the dark web and identifying cyber criminals rank among the most challenging tasks for governments and authorities. Accordingly, the latest report of the European Cybercrime Center of Europol highlights that effective crime prevention will only be possible throughout the cooperation between the public and private sector, the so-called PPP, public-private partnership against cybercrime. In this regard, I would like to focus on a new legislative proposal presented on 15th of December 2020 for a regulation by the European Parliament concerning digital services, which is aimed at creating a safe and responsible online environment. The Digital Services Act seeks to replace and update the rules governing the provision of digital services in the EU, rules which have remained largely unchanged since the adoption of the e-commerce directive in 2000. As we know, online platforms play a decisive role in the growth of the digital economy, and yet their activity raises two significant problems. On the one hand, the cross-border transfer of personal data inside and outside the Union. On the other hand, the circulation of illegal content or illegal goods or services online. For this reason, the DSA will establish different obligations for the various categories of online actors according to their dimension and their role in the digital ecosystem. All providers offering services in the EU single market, whether based in the European Union or not, will be subject to new rules and duties related to cooperation with public authorities. It is of primary importance that the European legislator adopts measures to tackle the sale of illegal goods and the dissemination of illegal content, establishing a procedure to report such violations and regulating the collaboration between providers of services and whistleblowers. With this in mind, one need only recall the Italian experience in the anti-corruption sector, the so-called whistleblowing in the public sector. At the same time, the DSA will introduce new obligations regarding the traceability of business users in online marketplaces in order to better identify sellers of illegal goods. This measure will also be fundamental to protect luxury brands and copyrights against the increasing spread of counterfeit goods. Today, protecting the authenticity of products is an absolute priority. Not least given that the trade in counterfeit and pirated goods on the internet has rocketed during the pandemic. We should also be aware of the relationship between counterfeiting, organized crime, and transnational crime, which underlines the need to combat the fake industry at a supranational level. So we have a multifaceted phenomenon which has to be fighted in a supranational level, which is something innovative in our juridical culture. If we compare the numbers of the fake industry with the numbers of the entire Italian economy, the results of the analysis are quite alarming. The latest report by the UIBM, Ufficio Italiano Brevetti e Marchi, report on anti-counterfeiting policies dated January 2020, shows that the value of counterfeiting in Italy has reached 12.4 billion euros, equal to about 4% of imports of original products. Furthermore, the counterfeit market in Italy exhibits specific features that render it extremely deep-rooted in certain parts of the territory. This market has proven to be extremely flexible and difficult to combat, even when the most advanced investigation strategies. We should consider the business of counterfeiting as something closely connected to digital transformation. Information and communication technology favor the expansion of the fake market, opening up avenues to every part of the globe and reaching customers wherever they might be. The digital economy has certainly had a significant impact on business, giving birth to new firms and industries. Nonetheless, cybercrimes pose challenges that can threaten business operations and restrain innovation and growth. Being aware of the risks deriving from the cyberspace is thus essential. Analysis or analyzing the legal aspects related to digital transformation, for example, privacy, cybersecurity, corporate liability, cybercriminality, now represents a core requirement in the education of young innovation officers, sustainability officers, risk compliance officers, and indeed beyond. Our university, in fact, pays a particular attention to these topics, and the new Master of Science in Digital Innovation and Sustainability is a clear example of our unwavering commitment to a fair and equitable future of trade in this unprecedented digital age. Thank you for your attention. Thanks a lot. And I give the floor to my friend, Cristiana Ione.
Thank you, Professor Severino, for your kind words. They are, very much appreciated from your international standing. We did really try to walk in your footsteps, and we hope that in the future we make you proud, and that, I can assure you that the students of the first batch are really energizing kids, that they want to really address the digital transformation and the sustainable development through the lenses of law, and really building on your teachings and building on your experience, and also we thank you for the work that you have been doing in these years for the internationalization of our university. And the presence of Benedicta and Benedetta are a good example of your work. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. And I leave the floor to Benedetta and Benedicta that are leading the session today.
Yes, so thank you very much, Professor Iaione. You've been too generous. And we thank very much Professor Severino. It's been a great honor and pleasure to hear you and your inspiring speech. So I will now introduce our guests for today's panel and start the round of questions. So we have Jacaranda Caracciolo Falk, who is the independent non-executive director of Jedi Group editorial, and chairwoman of Egida Investments. Then we have Francesca Bandelli, who is marketing and innovation director for Birra Peroni Asai Group Europe. And last but not least, Talita Vassalli di Dachenhausen, who is service manager of the National Museum System. Thank you very much for being here. So the first question will go to Jacaranda. So the question is, you are an entrepreneur and chairwoman of the Egida Investments, through which you are investing in small and medium enterprises and help them facing international competition. So which are the characteristics that the heritage industries of today must have in order to be competitive? You're muted. The microphone.
Thank you, Benedetta, and I'm very happy to be here. So thank you, Professor Iaione, and thank you, Professor Severino, for your compliments. We established Egida Investment in the last 6 months, thinking that this COVID pandemic has been, contrary to what most people think, a great opportunity. A great opportunity because never since the Marshall Plan has the market been abundant with liquidity as it is now. So it is true that we are facing many difficulties in the future. Is it true that there was a great loss of works, of jobs? But it is also true that given that we find the right ideas and the right team to bring them out into the world, you are probably you students of today, you are probably the luckiest generation since the war. And what we have noticed since we have established our little holding company is that we've been inundated by great pitch of enterprises. So every day we analyze several pitches, and the creativity that we found in Italy is really exceptional, and it's something we never think of. We as Italians especially, or we as Europeans, we tend to look elsewhere for greatness, and we often forget that we are the great innovators of the world. The problem, though, that we have encountered, and that is a problem for many small and mid enterprises in Italy, is the lack of ambitions and the lack of a supporting system that helps them to grow. So it seems that even though in Italy we have great genius loci, which is proved by our fashion industry and many others, there is a moment in which this industry, they lack the strength to go abroad with the same courage that most people elsewhere have. And so what you were asking, what are the characteristics that we look for? Well, first of all, a good idea. And that is the basic. You have to have a good product before talking about innovation and how to sell it and digitalization. You need to have the idea, and that's the basis, of course. Having established that the idea is good, we look for grit. We look for grit and resilience in the entrepreneur, because we live in uncertain times and in difficult times, times of great possibility, as said before, but certainly times where you need to be very resilient and very flexible and fast to change. And when we find this characteristic, we invest, but what we try and bring is not simply money, but what we call smart money, a way of helping the business to grow. How? By connecting them with possible partners, by helping them if they don't have the scale to have in-house digital resources, to connect them to agencies that can provide digital resources. And because the sad thing is that most small and mid-cap industry, they don't manage to get their products known abroad. And as of today, no brand can survive if they don't challenge other markets. So we need to go abroad, and go abroad with a certain strength, which is not only economic, but which is based on our skills. And what we found out is that in the Italian university system, and you approve of that, there are great talents, often very hidden. So for instance, we are developing a partnership with the University of Brescia for a spin-off of artificial intelligence to help brands develop their artificial intelligence. Because nowadays, no industrial sector can survive if they don't go through a total digital innovation. Even for the smallest thing, like predicting what kind of machinery will need to be revised when. I mean, artificial intelligence can simply revolutionize the industrial procedure. And we are what we've noticed is that especially young entrepreneurs are very, very willing to receive guidance. So not only money, but guidance in helping them to grow. And this is such a good sign, because I mean, in Italy, in the last 20 years, our growth was so limited. We were basically stagnating compared to other countries. And we had a 4.5% growth compared to Spain, France, which had like 25, 26%. So I think this is the greatest opportunity, and we must seize it with great courage.
Thank you very much for your answer. The next question is for Francesca Bandelli. So The Birra Peroni Acai Group has recently launched the Peroni Campus initiative. So through this initiative, you aim to innovate the whole sector, tracing the agricultural chain and guaranteeing its transparency, also through the adoption of new technologies. So can you tell us more about this?
Thanks, Benedetta, for the question, and thanks for the invitation to this talk today. So regarding Campus Peroni was created in 2018. And the aim of Campus Peroni is really to support the quality and the sustainability in the agriculture and the cereal sector. Mainly our commitment is to involve all the actors of our production chain. So mainly, for example, our malting site, but also all the farmers. We do have in Italy 1,500 farmers that work for Birra Peroni, and we produce with them more than 55,000 tons of barley from which we develop our beers. And so with Campus Peroni, it has been really possible to promote the scientific research, the innovation, and spread really the good practice and methods in terms of sustainability and innovation. As you may know, also Birra Peroni is a part of the Acai Group, and Acai has really moved the sustainability at the core of its strategy. So sustainability obviously has, is a strategy in many areas of the company. But when we refer to ingredients in particular, our commitment is to source 100% of our ingredients in a sustainable way by 2030. So that's why as a Birra Peroni, we really encourage the development and the implementation of sustainable farming methods. And when we talk about responsible sourcing, it obviously opens up to opportunity for innovation. And that's why then innovation brings also new ideas, as we were saying before, the importance of having good ideas, and good ideas that not only reflect the needs of the environment of company strategy, but also that, for example, for my job, really meet also the consumer needs. What we have seen recently, and especially during this COVID pandemic, there is a huge interest from people around a brand that have an heritage. They are big fans of the Made in Italy, and they are hugely interested in understanding where the ingredients are coming from. They want to hear stories. They want to hear what they are putting in their bodies. So consumers are not, they have lots of knowledge today and they want to know more. So that's why then we tried to combine the two aspects of, or I would say the three probably, the innovation, sustainability, digitalization, and these needs of stories and knowing the sourcing of the ingredients. So last year, we came up with the idea of leveraging the technology of the blockchain on a smaller project because it was very new, obviously, for us and for the beverage industry as a whole. So Birra Peroni was the first one to leverage the blockchain technology to tell the story about the ingredients. And in particular, we started to do it with the Nastro Azzurro on a special edition for one customer. And mainly what we did was to trace all the, let's say, the journey of the Nostrano maize, which is a key element, a key ingredient of Nastro Azzurro beer. Once we did that last year, we saw that we managed to do it, which, it's quite difficult to track all the process from all the farmers to the process of beer developing through logistics and so on. So we were able to do that. We obviously test and learn, but especially we saw lots of interest again from consumers. So this year we took on the challenge to do again a blockchain project, but this time on a very wider and bigger project, which is including our main brand, that is Peroni. So Peroni is today is our backbone of our Birra Peroni family, and it is made with 100% Italian malt. So we decided to tell the story about, the traceability, and we wanted to be transparent with consumers on all the journey of our 100% malt. So mainly we gather through the help of Posti, which is a new startup, an Italian startup, which we are proud of, leveraging. We developed this blockchain technology, and we mainly have traced all the process from, you can find all the information related on how many tons we have produced on that particular bottle of beer, of barley, what was the color, what was the quantity that was put in the malting process, and how long did it take to go to the brewery, and so on. So we obviously gathered all this information, and then we had to make them relevant from a consumer standpoint. And how did we do that? So I'm checking my phone because I want to show you. So mainly now you have this QR code on the neck of the label. This is a new bottle that is coming now on the market. So all the Birra Peroni, the Peroni brand will have this QR code. Just by clicking on their QR code, you are able really to know everything about this single bottle. So, where is coming from the malt, what was the site where it was produced, how many kilometers is done from the brewery to the shopping center, and so on, to the point of sales. And then by clicking, you will find, I don't know if you see, but you will find many information. Obviously, it's I have already entered in the site, but you can click and really know everything. Everything has been certified by Posti and what we want to do is really to be transparent. So it's a combination: sustainability, consumer needs, technology. You combine all these together, and as I said before, for me, the benefit of the blockchain is really to give transparency and to underline not only the importance of the sustainability, but also the sustainability can be used in an innovative way, really to talk and to have a trustworthy relationship with consumers, and not only because obviously this is a trustworthy relationship also with all the actors of the chain, including our customers and the government and so on. I hope this answered to your question, Benedetta.
Thank you. That was very, very interesting to know these innovations. So the next question is for Talita, and it is so the cultural heritage and the national museum system is one of the sectors which is facing the challenges posed by digital transition. So how is the core of international culture, of Italian culture, coping with the digitalization?
First of all, thank you for the invitation. Thank you to Vice President Paola Severino. Thank you to Professor Iaione. How our museum is coping with the digitalization. The public museums belong to the Minister of Culture, have always been coping with the challenges of the digital innovation. We had a 3-year plan of digitalization of a public museum. You can find it on our website of General Direction of the Museum, on the website of Minister of Culture. It was published already on July 2019, and it inspires the digital agenda of our museums, the museums belonging to the Minister of Culture. And it reports a large program, a planning that moves from putting together on the web all our museums to the reproduction in 3D of some of our culture heritage masterpieces. I can give you the exact link if you would be interested in it. I can leave it to the Luis organization, to you, Benedetta, at the end of this brief answer. Anyhow, we started the museum digitalization well before this 3-year digital plan. I want to report to you a very interesting example. It's smart.pompeii. It's based on a 2016 agreement among various organizations. It's an excellent example of interaction among government institutions, research bodies, universities, companies. Among the others, the CNR, our National Center of Research, and of course our Minister of the Culture. What is it? This is the first example of a smart archaeological park in Italy and around the world. It provides video surveillance, access control, anti-intrusion, but also hydrogeological, air quality, drones, that are all integrated, controlled, managed by an intelligent operating platform, the so-called SMI, Smart Mapping Interface, which continuously monitors all the sensors distributed in the archaeological park. And in case it generates alarms, in case of overrun of limited thresholds, anomalous behavior, and in emergency situations. Thanks to the Internet of Things, the integrated technological system is modular, is flexible, so as to allow you to add additional devices, components, sensors, useful for the optimized and sustainable management of the site anytime. But there is not the only example I like to report to all of you. There is another particular relevant example for the activity of the General Direction of the Museum, and that is the National Museum Systems, developed since 2018, one website for all the national museums. And this as a project to be done for all the museums belonging to the ministers, but also to the regions, to the municipalities, or belonging to private citizens too, or associations, trusts, church museums. The ambitious goal is to create a unique environment to promote the Italian museums, also because in all the world, Italy, it's the only country that has so many museums, so many cultural heritage. Then another one, I'm sorry, I'm very fast in maybe in telling you, but I have in mind some other examples to tell to you. There is also a pending sponsorship that was activated since last year, since 2020, and it was activated to check visitors' accesses. It will provide people counting devices. It's now pending, as I told you, because it has been waiting for being registered by our control organs. And it will be experimented by 10 of our museums and archaeological sites. Of course, you will get any useful information about this project when it will be finalized, always on the website of our general direction. And then also another example that it's very interesting, especially for the young generation, as you too, Benedetta. It's they are the video games, because video games it's another way to make people acquainted with the museum's interior collections. There are already video games known to the public, and actually not only to the youngest generation, but also to the older generation. It's very famous, the video game Past and Future, that is produced from the Archaeological Museum of Taranto. But also the video games Father and Sons, that was maybe the first video games produced in Italy in this matter, from the Archaeological National Museum of Naples, that has announced the sequel of this game, and also the Neapolitan version is under development. And another one, the name of these video games is particular, is Mi Razna, that in Etruscan language means I am Etruscan, and is produced from all the museums interested in the Etruscan culture heritage, for example, the Villa Giulia, the renowned museum in Rome, but also Etruscan archaeological sites, Cerveteri, Tarquinia, and other in Tuscany and Emilia-Romagna. And last but not least, another video games produced by the Coliseum Archaeological Park, with the provisional title of Terre, Veni, Lusi, Dedi. It's in Latin. It means the more you know, the more you donate. So I put together very different example of our museum coping with the digitalization, but I hope that it's various enough to give you the actual situation of this kind of link with digitalization.
So, thank you very much for your intervention. For sure, if you have some material you're available to share with us, I know that you're in contact with Antonelli, so maybe if you can send things, it would be very appreciated. And now is the second round of questions. So I'll go back to Jacaranda. And so, being the non-executive director of the Jedi Group, one of the biggest editorial Italian groups, actually, how has the digitalization served your industry to overcome the challenges posed by the pandemic? And I just want to remind, as a matter of time, each panelist can kindly use 5 minutes to answer, so we can head on also to research and innovation presentation program.
Okay, thank you, Benedetta. So I think that we have accelerated digital innovation at the JD, but I can say it was a process that had already started way before the pandemic. So we had a change of ownership recently at JD, and we were acquired by Exor Group. And this was a fantastic news because it provided us, let's say, with a financial stability to introduce a certain type of innovations. And as we all know, I think the media industry went through a kind of a dark age because they were quite, I mean, all big media companies in the world, they were quite slow in embracing the new movement of the digital innovation. So we continue to produce news, and we expected our readers, our users to read them. And they weren't reading them because they were getting the news from other sources. But I think the good news of the pandemic is that everyone realized the importance of high quality news and verified news. And that, I think we noticed an action in how users reached back to us. And so we implemented a great digital innovation, and we were happy to announce last week that every day we touch with JD newspapers 3,700,000 users, which is roughly 26 million per month, which is an incredible amount in Italy because it actually accounts for 68% of the internet audience. And this, I can say, it's only the beginning. I mean, we had to transition, so we had to even change how journalists work and to create new competences and to hire new people that produce video and podcasts, and a complete revolution in terms of how journalists were used to work. But I can say that now every day we have a massive production. We produce 350 articles, roughly 70 video, and every week we have 36 newsletters that go to our mailing list and 20 podcasts. We introduced 3 vertical thematic channels that did very well, which is Green and Blue on sustainability, and Salute and Moda Beauty. And we have 3 more channels on the way. But I think that the important thing is that this is only the beginning, because we have realized that no matter the quality of our product, we have to learn to speak the language of the new generations. And so this is the direction in which we are heading. So we are implementing a TikTok policy for social media, and we've introduced a new policy on Instagram. So they're all beginnings, and we are beginners at this, even though we are, I can say we are the most advanced in Italy, but compared to the rest of the world, we are beginners. But this is our direction, and we are moving steadily towards it.
Well, thank you. That's actually a very interesting and exciting story about how you're digitalizing. That's very progressive.
Thank you.
And, yeah, so for matters of time, I'll move to the second question to Francesca Bandelli. And so through your research and innovation development activities, you told us that you are using new technologies to innovate your industry in a sustainable manner. Being able to understand technological trends and their possible application is not easy and requires a flexible and open mindset and a multidisciplinary approach. So, which are the skills required in order to be able to communicate with such different areas of your firm and with a variety of professionals like you do?
Okay, thank you. You know, a bit you said that, so it's like about having an open mindset. So what I would say, I think that to communicate to a wider, let's say, variety of a professional, what you really need, there are two key things. You know? It's the active listening, which will allow you really to have this open mindset. So what I do as a marketeer is not just listening to what's happening in the beer market, right? So, you know, trends or whatever is happening, it's not just in my own field. I look at whatever is happening around me. That's why I mean active listening, open mind, see what's around you, and then bring it to your own field, because there is lots of technology innovation that is happening around that then you can leverage. So this is one of the key skills. And the other one is a skill. How can I put this on? I would say it's the ability to understand that your job is not the job that you really think it is. And how can I explain this better? So to do like my job today, a marketeer, I need to know about my job, but then I need to know also how the production is working. So how a beer is made, I need to know how the logistics works. What does it take to change a bottle shape? And why, if I ask to do so, I will have maybe some pushback from my colleagues in the logistics, because it's a complex thing to do. Or I needed to do a blockchain project. I do really need to understand as a marketeer how this is happening, the farming, the ingredients that we use, how is the development of it, and so on. So the key skill, that's why I said the open mind is not just about the trends, what is happening, but understanding the people, the job of others people you're talking to. So today, the competencies that you need to develop is not just about your field. It's wider and it's complex. Sorry to say that, but that's the reality.
No, thank you. Actually, your insight is very important. There's a very big opportunity to have your point of view. So thank you. And I'll now another question to Salita. And it's so overall, how has the COVID pandemic impacted the museum system, and which skills are required to face today the challenges posed by the current crisis and all the uncertainty related to the museum system?
Okay, thank you, Benedetta. Since the pandemic showed itself, the museums began to use more massively the digital way to allow the visitor a digital access to the museum's activity. In 2020, virtual tours were implemented. There are examples as the Culture Does Not Stop, Dante D, that are, I think, always in the archives of the website of the Minister of Culture. Among the initiatives activated by the ministry, the YouTube channel is worthy of note for the dissemination of videos posted by museums to tell about culture and museums, also through the words of their directors interviewed in about their collection, their initiatives. The museums have also used the social channels to promote activities carried out during the closure and aimed the renewal and improvement of the routes, as happened, for example, for the presentation of the new layout of the Beato Angelico room in the San Marco Museum in Florence, belonging to the regional direction of the museum in Tuscany. The ministry has also promoted the Grand Virtual Tour, that is a digital journey across the peninsula. Not only virtual tours, but also masterpieces of Italian museums, opera houses, archives, and libraries. In the period of the emergency, the social channels of the museum had a new impetus due to immediacy and ease of interaction via mobile phones, both for the user and for the institution that has to produce the contents. And especially through Facebook and Instagram, Italian museums have made and continue to make available resources and materials which can be classified into these kind of categories, virtual tours, but also meetings with the experts, focus on the works, didactic and educational activities for children. To these are added initiatives aimed at soliciting interactions with the network. For example, was very famous the initiative of Pinacoteca di Brera, promoter of resistenza culturale, cultural resilience, and to engage the virtual visitor with quizzes, surveys, contests. The knowledge of online resources and the public interactions are promoted not only by our general direction, by social channels, but also by the office depending directly by the minister. Very interesting in the public communication of the initiative in our regarding our cultural heritage. The name of our Instagram and Facebook channels, social channels, are Musei Italiani, as I'm telling you, with only one eye, and we are very proud to notice that in recent time, especially Instagram has implemented its followers. But we are also other initiatives, other institutional initiatives, for example, Ecological, that was a very interesting marathon in March 2020, a full day of live streaming, in which radio, TV hosts, and authorities from the world of culture, science, economy, innovation took turns in a long digital relay to tell the world how Italy reacted to the coronavirus emergency. In this year, in 2021, this kind of activity has been consolidated, because the virtual access is granted almost as the physical one, of course, with the different contents when the museum's opening is suspended. Because you know when we are in red zone, but also in orange zone, the public service offered by the museums is suspended. And so the museums are keeping in touch with the visitors always by the social channels. It's the only way to maintain a continuing link with the visitors. And there are also more virtual activities considered only as digital. This is of course, a new way of thinking for our museums. For example, there are initiatives about virtual digital lessons for the schools. And there was another part of the questions about the skills. The skills in a period of change, the skills that are in need more than ever are transversal competencies. In the case of culture heritage, the skills that are needed are those that combines deep specialized culture knowledge with the information about the existing digital technologies. Of course, not competence too in this, because it's too much, but the information about the existence, yes, this is of course important, but also the knowledge of administrative and business concept, because for example, the director of our museum are in charge of a lot of aspects, not only linked to the diffusion of the cultural heritage, but also the administrative profile, the business, the marketing, why not profile? It's important as the other. And so these are the skills relevant, and of course open mind and being resilient, because now being resilient is a quality to be apprehended.
Thank you very much. It would be very interesting to look into the virtual museums initiatives more. All these initiatives look very interesting and also accessible from home. So thank you very much. And hopefully we will have some time maybe at the end of the talk for a third question to everyone. But for now, I will leave the floor to our course director, Professor Iaione, and my colleague, Benedicta Guarco, and they will introduce the details of our master and also present a research and innovation project. Thank you.
Thank you, Benedicta. This was a mind-blowing conversation introduced by the remarks of Vice President Professor Severino, and four great examples of women leadership. Can we say that? Because this is also something that the diversity and the gender balance that has been a long-standing issue in the nowadays after the so-called Suffragette is even more important to underline this aspect, in my opinion, and that women leadership can really be a game changer in many different aspects. And I want to underline some of them that were stressed by our guest speakers. The first one was touched upon by Francesca Bandelli, who, by the way, was named by the Fortune Group one of the 10 influential managers in 2020. And the idea of managing complexity is at the core of this new program in digital innovation and sustainability that Luis devised. And law is the compass that can help managers of innovation and sustainability navigate the ecological transition, the digital transition, the complexity, and the risks that are associated with these processes of transition. So I think that what Francesca told us is very, very important. The other aspect that Jacaranda Caracciolo talked about is the importance of changing the way business has been done so far, and changing existing businesses like the media sector and also the investment sector. And that's why we put as a core exam for any major, for both majors, the one on digitalization and the one on sustainability, finance-based exams, finance-based classes, being them fintech for the digitalization major or green and sustainable finance for the sustainability major. We believe that the liquidity, the enormous quantity of money, liquidity that will be on the markets in the near future begs the question of how to really handle this liquidity. And Jacaranda demonstrated this is an important skill that you folks need to to develop in the future. The other aspect is, and that's why we brought together under the umbrella of heritage, which is a counterintuitive label, heritage industries. And we invited Talita Vassalli as a representative of the Ministry of Culture, that even heritage, which is about basically preserving identity, preserving memory, preserving our traditions, and the physical and the immaterial as much as the physical as much as the immaterial patrimony and heritage, demonstrates that even in these sectors, the digital transformation and the ecological transition and the social transition need to be faced. In a little while, we will introduce a very good friend, Anna Shemso from MRI, Metropolitan Research Institute in Budapest, with whom we are working on especially the aspect related to the social and ecological transition, the readaptive use of heritage and the inclusion of minorities and also those who are normally excluded from cultural driven urban regeneration projects. But the word I want to leave the floor to Benedicta with is the fact that this program, the Low Digital Innovation and Sustainability program, is a very hands-on project. It's a very hands-on applied program. We call it the job on the training approach. Normally, firms, corporations, public administrations say that they have to train the graduates, students that graduate from university on the job. We say no. With this program, we can, together with our mentors and Talita, Jacaranda, and Francesca, and Professor Severino, are some of the kind of executive figures that we look up to and that we involve in the everyday life of our program in order to mentor our students, to get them ready. Right, Benedicta? We devised a specific path to exemplify this approach, this very applied approach. Can you share your experience and this what it means? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Ione. And I think I'll take it from here by introducing the Law, Digital Innovation and Sustainability community. So we are a number of 50 students and we come from 10 countries of origin. We came with 14 different degrees and then we are coming from 20 different universities. And so we want to create knowledge, we want to become global citizens by working with the United Nations and then international financial organizations and other international NGOs. Then we also want to get out of our comfort zone. Some of us want to find jobs. Some of us want to develop innovative ideas to help the whole world become a better place for us. And then some of us also want to be world changers. So because we wanted to have a balance in gender equality, we have 46% of males and we have 54% of females. And then also, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can.
Yes. Okay. So the next thing is that since we are the first explorers, we came with different backgrounds. Myself, I came from a background of business administration with a major in public administration. Some people came with information technology, some came with political science, some with European studies, criminal justice, economics, and many other various courses. So for the nationality, we have 73% who are Italians and then 27% who are from other countries. Like myself, I am from Ghana. I have a colleague who is from Nigeria. I have another colleague who is from Sudan. There are people from Costa Rica, from Russia, from Germany, and we are all here to gain knowledge. And then for those who came from Louis, they are 31%. They already had their undergraduates in Louis University. And then 69% of us are from universities across the world. And so from studying, 55% of us would want to major in sustainability, 28% would want to major in digitalization, and then 17% would like to major in both because it's going to be an exciting course. The next thing is that we also wanted to present our dream jobs, the department and the sectors that we can work in. So for the department, you can work in research and development, you can work in communication, you can work in policy making and evaluation department, you can work in community involvement, you can also work with strategy, you can work with legal, corporate social responsibility. And so for the sectors, we have people who, you know, because we are learning law, digital innovation and sustainability, we would want to you know, break out, go and then work with cities as a sector, mobility as a sector, manufacturing as a sector, agri-food as a sector, so that we are going to have a full and then a balanced flow in every sector of the world and then the globe. So the next thing is to present to you the X Labs, which we are working on. And then the X Labs are theoretical and applied or practical sessions that we have every Fridays. We have 6 clusters. And then the first cluster is the future, before I present the clusters, we have a mission-oriented and challenge-based program. So last semester, we were introduced to research and innovation labs, and then innovation and sustainability labs, which are the language labs. We did that for last semester. This semester, we are plugging in with the X labs. And next semester, we are going to have the internship X, whereby we are going to have experiences. We are going to have the opportunity to work with people like you in your organization so that you can train us, and then we can learn values and attitudes from you, and then gain experiences for the corporate world, gain experiences to also become corporate people. And then for the last semester, what we are going to do is that we are going to combine all these. We're going to combine research and innovation labs, language lab, X labs, internship X, and we are going to put together a final work which we are going to present. So what we want to do is to introduce the X labs now. So for the future of cities and regions, which of course I am a member, we are defining solutions to make cities healthier and safer. So we want to reduce the use of privately owned cars, and we want to increase the use of public transport. And then we are partnering with NL, RATP Development, Qualcomm, and then a research organization, which is labgov.city, where Professor Ayone is a part of them. And then for cities, it is in accordance with the Sustainable Development Goal 11. So for the future of Earth, they are rethinking the value of natural resources and ecosystems. They want to create a nature-based solution and then restore the ecosystem. And they are working with the partners Confagricultura, Technip Energies, and then Fiamma. For the future of industry and manufacturing, they want to redesign production and industrial clusters and districts. They want to create a circular economy, and they want to create a green chemistry. And this, they are working with the partners EY and Green City. So for industry and manufacturing, it is in accordance with the Sustainable Development Goal 9. Next slide, please. The next cluster is the future of well-being. They want to develop a collaborative project in the well-being sector. They want to look at sustainable tourism. They want to improve upon agri-food 4.0, and they want to improve upon healthcare. They are working with NTT Data and then another partner. So the future of well-being is looking at good health and well-being, and then they're also looking at responsible production and consumption. That is Sustainable Development Goal. Yeah. The future of automotive and transportation is also rethinking urban mobility, and then they want to increase autonomous driving and smart mobility. So they want to introduce more of electric vehicles. They want to encourage people to use that. And they are going to introduce a charging system whereby you can when you are driving electric vehicles, you can get charging points at vantage points, and then you can make use of them. They are working with Qualcomm and NLX. And then we have the future of energy, telcos, and networks. They want to create solutions for sustainable buildings and neighborhoods. They want to create an energy community, and then they want to make sure that we have a community that is more of green hydrogen. They are also working with NLX, they are working with BIP, and they're working with ENED. So these clusters are helping us to research more into the various clusters and then practice it daily. So for the X Labs, we are also looking at it is like a research thing that we do, and then we learn more from our partners. We are working with the partners. So for the first week, we it was a kickoff meeting. The second week, we just explored the ecosystem. We worked together with the partners. And then the third week, we also did the co-design phase. We worked with the partners again. And then for the fourth week, that was last week, we had the peers and mentors review. We submitted a sample pitch, and then we presented to the partners. And then we got advices, suggestions, opinions, and perspectives from the other partners. And then we worked on more to build our pitch very well and then improve upon it. So this week we are going to have a proof of concept, and next week we are going to have a final pitch and hackathon. So we present our ideas and everything to the partners and other partners as a whole. The next thing we want to do is to talk about the XYZ camp. The XYZ camp is a camp where the X generation, the Y generation, and the Z generation come together, collaborate, share ideas, and then work together as a team. So the X generation consists of the 1965 to 1980 group, and the generation Y consists of 1981 to 1995-96 group, and the generation Z 1995-1996 to 2010 group. And so these three generations are going to work together. So we have people like you in the earlier generation, people like myself in the middle generation, and to the latter part, we are going to have these generations of people coming together, and then we are going to create digital transformation. We are going to hold a number of seminars like we are holding today to expose us on what we can do in the case of digital transformation and sustainable development. So I realized that sustainable development looks at prosperity of the future generations without compromising their need to get resources. And in as much as we are here today, these seminars are going to help us to look at the future more and make it a better place for everyone. So to join the XYZ camp and to get a chance to participate in the X Labs, kindly open your QR code and scan this QR code, and then you can join the camp. And then to follow us on Instagram, the Law Digital Innovation and Sustainability Group, kindly scan the QR code here to join our Instagram group. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Benedict. Now I'd like to give the floor to Anna Shemso, just to explain how this hands-on approach works, because some of our students, 3 of them, are already working in this Horizon 2020 project that, speaking of EU financing and the need for financing, and the fact that we need to rethink heritage in a much broader way. Perhaps the experience that we are carrying out under the leadership of Anna at the EU level with these 6 cooperative heritage labs to create new startups, new forms of economic sustainability for the adaptive reuse of heritage can really give a good example of what it means. Anna, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Christian. Actually, it's very hard, I think, because the presentations have been so good, so it's not easy to follow up. I prepared a presentation. I'm not sure that I'm allowed to share it right now, but I think it might be easier for me. I just noted a few thoughts down, and I'm going to say that, and then after that, I'm really open to questions. It's very hard, I think, to listen to a structured presentation after almost 90 minutes. So as Christian said, I'm leading a research and innovation project called Open Heritage, where Luis and Christian are partners, and we are very, very, very happy about, and I am very happy about. It's there were some key, interesting catchwords for me in all the presentation. Innovation, of course, was one. The other was complexity. I really liked it. And of course, there was a lot talk about openness and a bit about heritage. Openness is my special favorite because it's called Open Heritage. It's a research and innovation action. It's a very long project. It's 52 months. It used to be 48, but COVID changed a bit of things. it means that we can do a lot of different things. We can do research as well as we can actually do things. And Christian and his team, this is what they do, among others, in our Rome lab. It's my experience. It's one of the interesting questions I think that somehow came up is that, you know, who innovates and how can innovations be sustainable? And this is something that I think makes the project very interesting. I mean, my experience, and also in other projects, that on the one hand, universities, and on the other hand, NGOs are often at the forefront of social innovation. Big companies are often, you know, very good at technical things, but these two type of institutions are really crucial to have social innovation. But it only works if and now I'm going back to complexity, if they are able to build up a close cooperation, then they have a network of very diverse stakeholders, including municipalities, and ministries and all these public authorities who might seem boring, but are, you know, the cornerstones of how things can be sustainable, and definitely SMEs and companies. It's not an easy cooperation. I mean, as I can say only from my project, it's people think differently, and for the innovation to really be brought together, you need to cooperate, and it's a long process. Openness matters for us a lot. I mean, for us, openness is meant in 3 different ways. What constitutes heritage? I think that becomes very important. So I think we try to keep it very open, not only defining heritage basically from above, but from below. And this is one of our approaches. So heritage is what people find worthy to maintain and find important for their identities. The second level of openness is who can take care of heritage. It's again goes back to community involvement. We don't only want heritage to be taken care by public or private bodies, but we want the communities to be involved. And the third openness level is what we try to experiment with is, what is the proper way of taking care of heritage? How does it survive? And it's a very zigzaggy road, take my word for that. So especially under COVID. In this framework, heritage community is a crucial concept for every one of us. It's basically a part of our innovation. And the question is how to build on this heritage community, the innovation. The innovation, what we are trying to achieve is how to maintain heritage sites that are marginalized either actually in both a social or a geographical sense. So the bottom line is that we do not work with sites that are well funded. And also it's important for me to stress but that I don't see a conflict between this marginalized heritage definition and the official heritage definition. I mean, we are not competing with the Louvre or, in your case, the Colosseo. This is a very different type of heritage, just as important, maintained and sustained by the community. But heritage community means more than the local residents, and this is also important. Heritage community means that people can be important and crucial in maintaining this site, even who do not reside locally, but have a connection. This is important for minorities, for example. You know, there is an important Hungarian minority, even both in Romania or in Slovakia, and the heritage there is also part of the Hungarian. It's part of the Romanian heritage, and the Slovakian heritage is also part of the Hungarian heritage there. So people might find certain sites important that belonged also to different communities. It's actually also a source of conflict. On the long run, it can be, whose heritage is it? I think it's something that again can be dealt with, but we have to be aware of. When it comes to methods and approaches, we work with 6 labs, and we actually studied, I mean, there are lots of things we do because it's 52 months, it's a giant project, 16 partners. So please visit the website at www.openheritage.eu. You can find all the details. Also, you can feel free to write me. But important is that we study on a micro level 16 good, we call them observatory cases, interesting cases of community involvement and social innovation. And we somehow try to realize interesting social innovation in 6 sites. And one of them, as I mentioned, is in Rome. There is one site in Germany, one in the UK, in the city of Sunderland, which I think it's very relevant that it's close to Newcastle, but it's a town that voted overwhelmingly for Brexit. I think I always say this because I think this tiny detail shows the difficulties, the areas we work with. We also have a site in Lisbon, and we have one in Warsaw and also one in Hungary. I hope I mentioned everyone. If not, Christian, please absolutely feel free to intervene. So, but I think, I mean, there are lots of things that I could tell that were particularly interesting. But we talked in this talk quite a lot about this digital revolution. We didn't talk about the digital divide, which is also quite interesting to mention, but what we found that we experimented with digital solutions, but this is not easy. I mean, online is not a full alternative, at least when it comes to community engagement, to offline. So you might, engagement is much, much better when people actually can meet. So there are methods, but it's not the same. So there are limits to the possibilities to digital engagement. The other interesting things, and not about defining heritage, but also about, you know, involving communities, is not only the methods, how you involve, but who to involve and who constitutes a community. It's again not as straightforward. And even if you manage to answer these questions, the challenge when you step outside of the professional institutional system is the question of responsibility and the question of accountability. And when you take decisions as a community, what if something goes wrong? So and I think this is something that we all have to be very aware of when we think about innovation. And I want to refer back again to the importance of classic public institutions, because they could provide the backbone for this innovation and also help in these cases. We regarded, we try to regard the current crisis often as an opportunity. I mean, I think the Rome Lab is a very good example for that, how they actually enlarge their scope and also try to go digital. But it's again, what I found, a commonplace that we always say, but it's harder done than said, because opportunities are, of course it's an opportunity, but the current crisis also means, it of course means that there is space for innovation, but it also means that a lot of people have lost their jobs or lost their loved ones, and there have been families have faced a lot of hardship. And in this sense, you know, safeguarding sites is often, which actually can be a way to come out of a crisis, but it's often not on the top of the agenda of these people. This is what I really wanted to say very, very briefly, but Christian, please mention if I left an aspect out.
No, and as always, you made a good example, a perfect example of what it means to become managers of innovation and sustainability, because basically by managing these large 16 partners, right, project, 5 million euro, and all the complexities to get things through and experiment new business models in order to enable sustainability in the management of heritage, or to trigger local development through the valorization of heritage, basically you made a perfect example of what it means to become managers of innovation and sustainability. I want to say that the Open Heritage Project also shows, as you said, how openness can work, and it was mentioned also by Francesca Bandelli, and also the community-based approach that Benedicta talked about that we embedded in the program. It's basically you know, a good example of that too. And I believe that you know, all in all, we are trying through the X Labs, through the Research and Innovation Lab within this program to generate new projects like this, to generate new spin-offs like the ones that Jacaranda Caracciolo mentioned in her presentation. So I think why wait? And I'm talking to those who are thinking to decide. They are deciding what program they need to join in the future. I think that these 5 leaders plus Benedetta and Benedicta that are future leaders of sustainable development and innovation, as I hope, have made a good, you know, the perfect, have epitomized basically what it means and what is lying ahead of us. I just want to end this session and thank everyone in the room, Jacaranda Caracciolo, Francesca Bandelli, Talita Vassalli, Anna Scemso, Benedetta Pontecorvo, and Benedetta Quarcu, and of course, Vice President Professor Severino, Paolo Severino, for their presence today. You can find more information online in the chat box. We put some links, especially to the scholarships and the studentships, because we believe in diversity inclusion. So we made an extra effort in making sure that everyone that has merits and can access this program, because we know these days how much it is important to support applications from everyone, especially during after COVID-19 and the economic crisis that has brought COVID-19. So look up our scholarships page, because there is plenty of opportunity to join the program. Again, thank you all. After today, I feel energized, and I'm looking forward to future conversation on these and other topics. Thank you so much.
Thank you to you.